Hello, this is Tom with the Tractor Rescue Ranch. I just wanted to do a follow-up video from some comments that I had on the compression video that I did. I had a good comment. I appreciate everybody's comments. I'm a pretty good mechanic, but I don't have a lot of experience. My mind just works well in the mechanic world, and so everybody's thoughtful comments have been real helpful to me. Anyway, this tool that I've had it for years and years, and I bought it secondhand, this compression gauge. I got to thinking, well, to start with, it was jumping up to around 30 psi, and it wouldn't hold it there. And one of the comments had said that's not near enough compression. So I did a little bit of research, and it should be coming up to a minimum of about 90. So I was way short there. But when I was in that motor, the cylinders and everything looked pretty pristine. It would probably have to be in the valves if if it is low on compression. So I thought I'd pull this apart and see what's going on with it. And I'm pretty sure that it was this pressure gauge. After getting it apart, that's what I got out of it. Lots of dirt and rust, and this is a little release valve that once it pressures up and you're done with that cylinder, you push it and it releases it so you can go on to the next one. And inside this piece was one of those valves that you put in the tubes to get air into your tires. And so that was froze up in there. So it was probably the reason I didn't have as much compression, as it was probably just letting just a little bit of it sneak past this. I was able to get it turned loose, but then I had to tap it out from the back side because it was the valve part of it right there was just froze in there solid. So anyway, I've got a new one here, but it's the wrong size. It's not long enough to fit in there. So I'm going to have to make a trip to town. Next time I go to town, I'll try to get the right needle valve there and put this thing back together, and I will recheck that compression to make sure that we're good with our compression before I get it any further, because it'd be real easy to tear things apart again. If I do have a problem with the valves, I can lap the valves or something. Like I say, I'm pretty sure that it doesn't have a problem with the pistons and the rings. So I'll pause this and check back with you when I get things together and we can check that compression again. Okay, this is Tom. I have got that compression tester working, and I've got at least 80 pounds of pressure in each one of these first three holes. Supposed to be, from what I understand, at least 90 pounds. So they're a little bit low, but a lot better than what that was originally reading. But I've got a problem. The number 4 hole here still come up to the original 30 pounds that I was testing. The way you test that to diagnose whether it's valves or piston rings is to test it, see what it says, then put some oil in there. I just use that oil can, put some oil down the hole, and then turn it over with that oil in there, and that oil coats the rings. And so if it's piston rings, the compression should come up a lot more when you test it with the oil coating those rings really good. And it did not come up. So I've got a problem with a valve in that hole. The reason I didn't originally do that, I should have lapped the valves from the start, but the reason I didn't is because if you're going to break a bolt on these old rusty bolts, it'll be in them manifold bolts where they've been getting so hot. And I was hoping not to have to do that. So I'm going to have to chance it. If I break a bolt, I'll have to get it out. I've done that before. But anyway, these covers down here underneath the manifold have got to come out, and that's where you access the lower end of these valves. So I'm going to have to get that manifold pulled out and those covers off and take a look at those valves. Hopefully just a good lapping job on them will take care of the problem, and I can go from there. I don't think this is going to cost me a bunch more money, even if I have a problem with the valves or something, as long as I don't have to have them reground. That might be a problem, but I don't think that it'll get that far because everything looked good from on top. So that's where we're sitting. I'm going to have to just tear back into this and get it done right. Okay, just wanted to update here show you what's going on. I broke down and pulled this thing apart again, and thanks to some good comments that you guys make, please continue to make your comments. I appreciate them all, but thanks to some good comments, I decided I better do this with this compression, and I've got some of these valves out now, and I've been struggling with this. I don't want to sugarcoat things here on what I'm doing and wanting to be honest, and so I've been struggling with this all morning. This number 4 piston that I had to replace the piston and the rings on had some water in it, and I think the water predates when it was sitting before it sat for 20 years. And these valves on this number 4, they went up and down just fine, but I couldn't get more than 30 pounds of pressure on that cylinder, whereas I got a lot more on these other 3. So it's a good thing I pulled things apart. I'll try to, I think I'm going to be able to save those valve seats. Oh, that's not the right one here. There it is. It had a whole bunch of surface rust, and those valves weren't shutting down all the way. And from looking at it, cleaning it up a little bit, those valve seats are good and competent, so I think that I'll be able to lap them in and make things work there. But anyway, pulling these darn valves out, I haven't had much trouble with these other valves. But this number 4, the valves were stuck, and so how this thing works here, this is one of the valves. That goes in there like that. So you have to stick a screwdriver, this guide right there on the top, you have to stick a screwdriver in the hole here. And it turned out, well, I made a little tool, bent a screwdriver and made it, and I was able to get some of these out, but these number 4s were in there so tight I wasn't able to. But this tire tool turns out is the perfect bend on it. And so what you have to do is get in there and you push that guide down. And when you push the guide down, you can get in there and pull that little keeper out. So you get that keeper out with that guide pushed down there, and then you come in and push that all up, straight up, and the whole valve, spring assembly and everything comes up out of the hole. Pretty ingenious the way they built that. This is really, I think, the first motor I've ever worked on that had the valves in the block instead of the head. But so that's how you get the valves out. And so here's one I've got all disassembled and pulled apart. These keepers are just what you'd have, and this is all of the parts that you would have on top there, that very similar to a regular valve in a overhead valve. And then this is the keeper that you gotta, or the guide that you gotta get out of there, and then the keeper. So that's what that whole assembly looks like. And in the thoughts of not sugarcoating things, I was able to get those back two out eventually, but I messed up the valve here, the intake valve. I messed it up when I was trying to get it out, and I bent it a little bit. But anyway, I've got another valve and keeper and everything ordered for that one hole, and I'm just going to continue get the rest of these valves out. It's important when you pull these out to put them in order so you can put them back in the same hole, but I'm going to get them all out and cleaned up. That's a mess in there. You can see all the years of carbon build up. I'm going to get them out and cleaned up and get them lapped and put back together, and I'm quite confident that's going to fix my compression problem, just the way things are looking here. So anyway, I'll close this video for now, and the next video I do on this will be lapping the valves, but it might be a few days since I've got to get some parts coming in. So thanks for watching.